The Nike React Infinity Run Flyknit 3. At 100 plus miles in, is this shoe beginning to flop? Let's talk about it. So what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Filip, Latocha, and today, as you can guess, we're talking about the Nike React Infinity Run Flyknit 3, and basically 100 plus miles deep, what I think about the shoe right now, if it's still holding up the way I need it to hold up, and all sorts of other questions that have been brought up as a result. So before we get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're already subscribed, watching this content. Thanks so much, love you guys a lot. Specs for the shoe are right here. Let's just dive right into it. So first, let's check out the outsole rubber and foam bottoms of the shoe. So here's the overall. You can kind of see. That's my left foot, and this is the right foot. So this is going to be the first thing I want to start off with, because it's highly unusual at 100 plus miles deep. With any shoe in my particular case, is, if you've probably noticed, the wear is actually extraordinarily even across both shoes in the forefoot area. You can see that I have wear in this toe box area here. I have the usual wear of my right foot here, but I also have similar patterns of that wear in this forefoot area and in this outsole area as well. So this is just tangent to the shoe in particular. One of two things that could be going on. One, the surfaces I'm running on are a little bit less crowned and maybe a little bit flatter, which I'm kind of doubtful of, but it is a possibility. Or two, because I'm running a little bit slower in these shoes, I have more time to correct my form, particularly how my feet are landing, and as a result, there's a little bit more control in my feet, and in a way, the shoes are just landing properly, or my feet are not getting lunged in a way where my ankles don't have any time to respond on how I impact the ground. So that's something interesting to note, that so far so good with the wear on the bottoms here. Now, the major pros of the shoe so far is that it's been extremely consistent whenever I needed it to be consistent. So what I mean by that is that, again, this is not my speed racing daily speed trainer shoe. This is a recovery, everyday type of runner in my lineup that I'm using currently to train for, there's a couple of races. I've got the Crystal Lake Half Marathon, the Chicago Triathlon, the Fox Lake 20 miler, and I've got the Chicago Marathon coming up. As I've discussed in a previous video comparing this to like the Vomero 16, I would use this shoe for more work that is, if I'm recovering from a speed day, this is going to be the shoe I'm going to lean into because it's a little bit heavier. It's got a lot more React foam for a bit more cushion to the run and having a little bit more responsiveness and not having such a beat down the next following day. So this is kind of the go-to shoe for those speed workouts that are involved with half marathon and marathon training to an extent. That's a big plus, is that it's been reliable there. And what I like, of course, is that even though it's using React, it's not nearly as springy as Zoom X, which gives your ankles and your feet some time to recover after those speed sessions. If you're using something like a Vomero 16, which has some Zoom X and EVA2, or in my case, if I'm rotating with like the Asics Magic Speed as one of my speed trainers, if I jump into the Vaporfly or the Alpha Fly also, those are high like Zoom X tier style foams. This is a good counterbalance in your training block to use, just one solid chunk of React all the way across. Another thing I like so far is that the upper has been extremely cooperative at this point in time in terms of wear and tear in the mesh area. So not a whole lot of damage on the shoe as I see it right now. It is a bit dirty, which in my book and in my opinion is a sign of honor for the shoe itself, because that means I'm using it so frequently that it doesn't have time to get washed, and it's just reliable and it's being used properly in that sense. So I have a little bit of dirt in very particular areas of the shoe, which I'm going to get to maybe in the neutral comments. I guess we'll just roll into the neutral comments here as well. The neutrals here that I'm noticing is that my hamstrings and glutes are a little bit weak after, I don't know what I'm doing necessarily in my training that could be causing this, but I'm seeing it definitely on this shoe. As you can see, the dirt on the inside by the eyelids of the shoelaces, that the shoes may be basically grinding against one another as you're running. So if your knees slightly cave in because there's like a weakness in the glutes and the hamstrings are trying to overcompensate, there's a likelihood that the shoes may be colliding into one another from like this particular wider forefoot area, and they're clipping each other in these eyelid areas. So as a con discussion, it could be said that maybe the forefoot area is a bit wider than it needs to be, but that's maybe too soon to tell at this point in time. But it is something I'm personally noticing if in fact my glutes are a little bit weaker than my hamstrings, and there's a bit of overcompensation in my running stride as a result. This is totally a thing. A lot of people will notice this if they see a bit of dirt on their calves, and they can see it also on the shoes if the feet are grinding or kind of dragging in certain ways. So that's something to note there. One of the cons of the shoe at this point in time is that it's not really going to be great for a 2-a-day, and what I mean by that is that it does really retain a lot of moisture. I think I stand back on the comments I made before on the shoe that it's breathable. It really is not as breathable as I thought it was going to be. The moisture does sit in this shoe. It is going to be pretty soaked for a couple of hours if your feet kind of sweat, and maybe the shoe's going to smell afterwards as well as a result. So if you're done using this shoe for the day, definitely put it somewhere where it's dry and it can dry off quickly. Maybe if you want to put it in the sun, go for it. Or if you got like a dry, cool basement, that's a good place as well. But it's not too great for 2-a-days. So for example, when I was doing my group morning run, I think it was last Saturday, I was using this shoe for the 10-mile run, and I wanted to go into a recovery run afterwards to add some more distance. I could not utilize the React Infinity Run Flyknit at all. I actually think I went into the Vomero 16 as the second run for the day, which was kind of odd because I wanted to take it a little bit slower and easier. And the Vomero 16 has a bit more of a kick because of the Air Zoom pods and the ZoomX foam. So that was a bit of a letdown from the Flyknit side of things here. I guess the one other pro we can add to the shoe is that the lock has been extremely good if you are utilizing the eyelids of the shoe. You just pull the shoelaces as far as you can through the eyelid areas, and you pretty much have a good lock. It doesn't look like I'm also burning the inside area as well. This has been a thing with some shoes I've had in the past where you do end up burning the eyelids and then they become unusable, and that's kind of a long-term bad thing that happens to the shoes. And I think the last thing that I'm going to address about the Infinity React Run Flyknit is also another pro, which is that at this point in time, when I take it on an easy run or just a long run in general, the shoe has been extremely reliable in the sense that if I'm trying to run like 7:30 to 8 minute per mile pace, I can do it in this shoe and it will stay in that range. It won't fluctuate upward for any sort of reason. It won't go down for any sort of reason outside of the boundaries of like my self-control while running. And that's a major plus when it comes to anything with running shoes, because the last thing you want to do is have like some sort of outer element that ends up, I guess, changing your pace, whether it's like a hill or if it's, I don't know, like you're changing what kind of surface you're running on, if you're going from gravel to road, road to gravel, etc. You would like something that is going to give you a consistent pace on whatever terrain you take it on. And the Infinity React has so far been extraordinarily consistent. Now, it's not to say that like if I'm running 7 flat on flat road that I'm going to be running 7 flat up the hill. It's not how it works like that, right? There's going to be a bit of like a logical difference in terms of pacing and like how your turnover is on those hills. But what I'm saying is that the shoe is not going to drop, it's not going to feel like I'm dragging a 9 minute per mile pace up the hill per se. Like there's enough responsiveness out of this shoe at this point in time where I can easily take it for a run that is maybe from 6 to 10 miles and rely on the pace being whatever I set my mind to it to be, basically like minutes or hours before the run. So that in turn has made the shoe at 100 miles deep still something I'm going to continue using in my running lineup, and based on the damage I see right now, I actually see no reason to replace the shoe in my in my training lineup as the everyday trainer slash recovery runner. So so far so good. I'm going to continue with it, and it's going to be a good time. So if you guys got questions about the shoe or have any thoughts or comments about it from your personal experience, let me know in the comments below, and we'll just continue talking about it. So I think I'm going to end the video here on the React Infinity Run Flyknit at 100 plus miles, and I will see you guys in the next one.